The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is one of the most well-known and controversial in the Bible. In Genesis, these two ancient cities are destroyed by God because of their sins, with rains of fire and sulfur falling from the sky. However, throughout history, these cities have not only been a symbol of divine judgment but also an enigma for archaeologists, theologians, and historians. What really happened in Sodom and Gomorrah? Are there archaeological proofs supporting the biblical narrative, or is there an even deeper secret hidden in their ruins? If this is your first time on the channel, subscribe now so you don't miss any important content about the darkest chapters of our history. A volcanic event or catastrophic explosion. The biblical description of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah speaks of fire and sulfur falling from the sky, an event that has led many to speculate about a natural disaster. Some scientists suggest that the destruction of these cities may have been the result of a volcanic explosion or a natural gas eruption that, when ignited, caused a massive explosion in the Dead Sea Valley, where the cities are believed to have been located. There are deposits of bitumen and flammable gases that, in theory, could have been triggered by an earthquake or seismic activity. This hypothesis adds a naturalistic component to the biblical story but does not necessarily contradict the religious account. Instead of a direct intervention, some believe that God could have used a natural event to carry out his judgment, thus aligning the biblical narrative with observable scientific phenomena. Archaeological evidence, the ruins of Tul Layman. In recent decades, excavations have been conducted at an archaeological site in Jordan known as Tul Layman, which many believe could be the true location of Sodom. This site has revealed evidence of mass and sudden destruction, which seems to match the biblical narrative of a catastrophic event. Remains of burnt walls and fragments of vitrified pottery exposed to extremely high temperatures suggest that Tul Layman was violently destroyed, aligning with the description of fire and sulfur. The role of geology in the destruction. A fascinating curiosity is how the geology of the Dead Sea and its surroundings could have contributed to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The region lies on the Jordan Rift Valley, a tectonically active area that has experienced significant earthquakes throughout history. The combination of a massive earthquake and reserves of natural gas or bitumen could have caused an explosion similar to the one described in Genesis. The region's geology has also revealed high concentrations of sulfur, which lends credibility to the fire and sulfur rains mentioned in the Bible. This evidence suggests that a devastating natural event with a seismic and chemical component could have been interpreted as divine judgment in ancient times. The mystery of Lot's wife, a pillar of salt. One of the most enigmatic scenes in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is the transformation of Lot's wife into a pillar of salt. According to the account, she disobeyed the warning not to look back while fleeing from the destruction, and in that instant, she turned into salt. Some scholars have attempted to explain this story in scientific terms, suggesting that contact with gases or chemicals during the explosion may have caused this phenomenon. In the Dead Sea area, there are natural salt formations that some have identified as Lot's wife. However, this seems more like an attempt to keep the legend alive than concrete evidence. The apocryphal texts and the Book of Enoch. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah does not only appear in the Bible but also in apocryphal texts and Jewish tradition. In the Book of Enoch, for example, the corruption of these cities is mentioned, as well as how the fallen angels, the Watchers, influenced the decay of humanity. According to this version, the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah were corrupted by celestial beings who taught forbidden knowledge, leading to their destruction. This version adds a mystical and cosmic element to the narrative, suggesting that it was not only the moral corruption of their inhabitants but also a supernatural influence that led them to ruin. Alternative interpretations of the sin of Sodom. Traditionally, the sin of Sodom has been understood as relating to sexual immorality, but scholars and theologians have debated this interpretation. Some argue that the true sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was inhospitability and cruelty toward strangers, a view supported by other biblical passages such as Ezekiel 16 verse 49. Where it is mentioned that the sin of Sodom was arrogance, gluttony, and indifference toward the poor. This perspective shifts the focus from sexual immorality to a more social and moral view of the story, suggesting that Sodom was destroyed for its lack of compassion and selfishness. The submerged ruins in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is a place full of mystery in itself. There are legends and ancient accounts that speak of the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah hidden under its waters for centuries. Explorers have tried to find traces of these cities, convinced that somewhere beneath the salty waters lie the remains of these ancient civilizations. While submarine expeditions have not found conclusive evidence, some believe that the high concentrations of salt in the sea could have preserved structures that may one day be revealed. The search for these lost cities remains a fascinating challenge for modern archaeologists and explorers. The mystery of whether Sodom and Gomorrah are really submerged under the Dead Sea or if they were completely destroyed continues to be an enigma that can only be resolved through speculation and theories. The influence of Sodom and Gomorrah in other cultures. The story of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is not exclusive to Judeo-Christian tradition. Versions of this event can also be found in other cultures and religions. For example, in Islamic legends, the cities are known as Sodoma, and it is mentioned that they were destroyed for their sin and rebellion against God. Additionally, some cultures in the Near East have similar stories about cities destroyed by fire and sulfur. The persistence of this myth in various traditions suggests that, beyond a specific religious story, it may reflect a real catastrophic event that affected a wide region. Judgment and redemption, the theological implications. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is not only a tale of destruction but also a warning and a call to redemption. The Bible mentions that before destroying the cities, God sent Lot, a righteous man, to leave with his family. This detail underscores the idea that even in the midst of judgment, there is hope and an opportunity for salvation. The figure of Lot and his escape has been interpreted as a symbol of divine grace, always seeking to save those who remain faithful and righteous. Over the centuries, the story has been used as a moral lesson about the importance of justice and mercy, as well as a warning about the consequences of corruption. The mystery that persists, reality or myth. In the end, the mystery of Sodom and Gomorrah remains fascinating because it lies on the border between myth and real history. Were these cities merely an allegory of the dangers of immorality and inhospitability, or did they truly exist and were destroyed by a catastrophic event? The search for answers continues, and while some archaeologists believe they are closer than ever to uncovering definitive evidence, others suggest that these cities and their secrets may remain hidden forever, preserving their aura of mystery. If you have made it this far and have learned something new from our stories, subscribe and activate the notification bell so that you don't miss our upcoming videos. Together, we can discover and remember the truths that history often tries to conceal.